And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for September 27. Tropics still generally quiet, but a somewhat rare occurrence of a tropical cyclone in the Western Pacific. 15W has formed on day 271 of the year so far. It's the only system that's a live tropical cyclone that's active at this point. In the Atlantic though, we've still got the ghostly remnants of Paulette, which are looking a little bit better actually at the moment, and a 10% chance for an area of interest that most likely won't develop in the Western Atlantic on day 119 of the season so far. In the Eastern Pacific, the remnants of Lowell continuing to move out towards the Hawaiian Islands won't get there. 50% chance for an area of interest to its east off the coast of Mexico, some distance away from the coast, should develop into a tropical cyclone, probably maybe beyond 5 days. In the Western Pacific, Tropical Depression 15W there, it's moving northwestwards, and a 20% chance that could develop alongside it. Once it gets up to the high latitudes, small chance of an area of interest which could turn tropical. Certainly there'll be a low pressure system up there. No systems active in the Indian Ocean at this time, or indeed anywhere else around the world right now. All quiet in the places that should be. So looking at the Atlantic, you can see again that tiny little area of spin that you can see in the Western Atlantic there, well to the north of Hispaniola, looking less good today actually, so that should be off the books within 12 hours. Up towards the Azores, you might see a small little signature there. That's the remnants of Paulette, and it's still going and blowing up a bit of convection, would you believe? Could it possibly live again for a third time? Well, we'll see. The Eastern Pacific, we're still waiting for the disturbance to become particularly enhanced, but you can see the start of it there south of Mexico. Looks like it's going to be the one that's further out at sea, and you got general thunderstorm activity occurring off southeastern Mexico as well. Can't rule out another system forming behind it. In the Western Pacific, you can quite clearly see that tropical depression, very broad, well to the east of the Northern Mariana Islands. The only land that could get struck by this cyclone would be Minami Torishima, which is well out to sea in the Western Pacific, and a small little puff of cloud there as well near the Northern Mariana Islands could become that potential second storm. The South Pacific, usual quiet at this time of year, but thunderstorms dotted all the way around from Papua New Guinea all the way through to the Solomon Islands and beyond to Vanuatu. The Indian Ocean looking fairly quiet after yesterday when thunderstorms were blowing up a lot more, dying down really for the most part in Western India. Last traces of it there. I'm sure it'll blow up again before long. Sea surface temperatures then off the coast of Mexico, still fairly warm, but you can see the whole of the Eastern Pacific really much cooler than what you would expect. The La Nina effect still very much there. It's not going away, I can tell you that much. The Atlantic, very warm waters, those aren't going away for a while either. Caribbean Sea is very much on notice, especially as we enter the next 4 or 5 weeks. And still warm waters almost extending as far north as Bermuda as well, despite the recent storms. The Indian Ocean, the Bay of Bengal, will be somewhere to watch in the latter part of October onwards, with warm sea surface temperatures prevailing. And the Western Pacific remains warm all round, 30 degrees plus over a huge chunk of the Philippine Sea and South China Sea as well. 28 degree isotherm extending almost as far as the southern coasts of the main islands of Japan. Only not doing so probably because of those recent typhoons as well to the west. Latest sea surface temperature anomalies then, this is how it's looking right now, and you can see very divided in the Pacific Ocean as a whole. The subtropics fairly warm, the equatorial zone much below average for the La Nina, and in the Caribbean very warm, as is the Western Pacific tropical zone. On this day, on September 27th, 2008, we had 2 hurricanes active in the Atlantic, but we had a Category 5 typhoon, Jangmi, very picturesque as well, and that was headed northwestwards towards Taiwan. We also had tropical depressions 20 and 21W, which would both end up developing later on in the sequence. Also on this day in 2015, Typhoon Dezhen peaked one day before it struck the northern part of Taiwan. So as we catch our breath in the Atlantic Ocean, waiting for what will be an inevitable next name on the list, now in the Greek alphabet, it's Gamma. In the Eastern Pacific, Marie would be next if the 50% chance develops into a tropical storm, and in the Central Pacific, if it waits a while, it would be named Hone. In the Western Pacific, the next name is Kajira, and in the North Indian Ocean, the next name on list 1 is Gatti. In the Southern Hemisphere then, obviously the season right around the corner at this point. Imogen is next for the Australian region. The Southwest Indian Ocean will begin with Alicia, and in the South Pacific it's Yolanda. We'll be back with another tropical weather bulletin tomorrow night.